Hi there. In this video, I would like to share with you how the user role table works. So this is presented in this picture, and you see the user role table over here. That's a table as such. The structure of this table is like this. So what you see here, it has these 5 columns, of course, a unique ID, and it has a user ID, a role ID, a table enum, and an object ID. So these 4 are the, let's say, the content of this table. What can we do with it? It is very important because it's the core of our access rights system. It gives users access rights to certain components. So if we start with the first link to a user, every user, of course, has an idea, and that's linked to one customer like Bayernwerk or Avacon. So that's over here. And so you'd have to know the user that's involved. Then you look at the role. So what is the role concerned? What is meant with a role? If I look at this project, so we're here in a certain project, in a demo environment, we see here that one user, being our colleague Hannes, is in the role project lead. So project lead, like initiator or director or expert, those are roles in Uffective. Each role has certain rights, and those rights are tasks. It could be read an item or edit an item, or it can be change the status. All kind of tasks are available, and every role can have multiple tasks, and every task can be in more than one role. So if you go back to user role table, we have one user ID and we have a role ID. Then we've got this table ID and this object ID. In this case, Hannes is in this role for this item. So there is an item with this idea, and in this item ID, Hannes is in this role. How do we present that in user role table? We say Hannes is in a certain item, and we have to know that it's an item, and for that we use the table. This table holds rows with, for example, item, sub-portfolio, portfolio, customer, all kind of tables are mentioned in the table with tables. I have an example over here. So if you look at the table, you can see, for example, that there is a table, there's a row with the name portfolio, and there's a row with the name portfolio across fiscal year. There's also a row with an item or with a sub-portfolio, and so on. And each of them has a unique ID. So in this content here is stored by saying the user ID of Hannes is in the role project lead, it's in the table item, and then the object ID is the ID of the item. Let's say we would grant Hannes rights to read all projects, then we would have the same user ID, we would have a different role, for example, portfolio reader, and then we would say the table is not an item, but now we are in portfolio level, and we grant, so we take the table ID of a portfolio, and we grant him the rights to read the portfolio ID, so the projects in this case, in this example, from this test customer. Thanks for your attention, and I can imagine that the table is confusing, but remember, all tables within Uffective are in there, so it is a mean for us to give a table a unique ID, so we can address over this user role table, we can address multiple topics like customer portfolio, sub-portfolio, and so on. So it's a very generic solution. Thanks.